Welcome to the Running Library. Today we are breaking down Freakonomics by Stephen Levitt. Let's keep this practical, and let's start with the strongest idea first. Most people think economics is about money and markets. Freakonomics argues it's really a tool for uncovering hidden incentives that drive human behavior. Big idea number 1. Incentives run the world, and they're not always obvious. People respond to incentives, but they often respond in ways you don't expect. Why it matters. If you only look at what people say, you'll miss what they do. If you only look at the surface story, you'll miss the real cause. Levitt's core move is simple. Ask, what are the incentives here? Financial, social, moral, and sometimes the incentives conflict. A classic example in the book is cheating, not because everyone is evil, but because the payoff is tempting and the chance of getting caught feels low. Teachers changing test answers, athletes breaking rules, real estate agents nudging you in a direction that benefits them, not you. The point isn't everyone is a liar. The point is that incentives can quietly bend behavior. Action step. Pick one money decision you're making right now. Buying a car, choosing an advisor, negotiating salary. Then write down 3 incentives for the other side. What do they gain if you say yes? What do they gain if you say no? What do they gain if you delay? But here's where it gets interesting. Once you start looking for incentives, you begin to see that expert advice isn't always aligned with your outcome. Big idea number 2. Experts can have information and still steer you wrong. Experts often know more than you, but they may also benefit from your ignorance. Why it matters? In finance, information gaps are everywhere, and the person with the better map can guide you or mislead you. Freakonomics spends time on real estate agents. They have more information than buyers and sellers. They know the neighborhood. They know pricing patterns. They know what's likely to happen next. But their commission structure can create a subtle incentive to close the deal faster, to nudge you toward good enough instead of best possible. Even if the difference in your sale price is big to you, it may be small to them relative to the time and effort required. This isn't about calling all agents bad. It's about understanding the system. And you can apply this to almost any financial expert, a broker, a salesperson, a consultant, even a friend who's confident. Action step. Anytime someone gives you financial advice, ask one question. How are they paid? Commission, flat fee, salary, performance-based, or status and attention. Then ask a second question. What would they recommend if they were paid the opposite way? Now here's the mistake most people make. They treat advice as neutral. Instead, treat advice as a product shaped by incentives. Big idea number 3. Data can expose patterns that stories hide. Humans love stories, but stories can be wrong, even when they feel true. Why it matters. Bad financial decisions often come from vivid examples, not from base rates, not from actual odds. Levitt's style is to take a weird question, then use data to separate what's true from what's merely popular. One of the book's most famous discussions is about crime trends and controversial explanations. Whether you agree with every conclusion or not, the method is the lesson. Don't start with the conclusion you want. Start with the evidence. Then test alternative explanations. In personal finance, this matters because everyone says it's not a strategy. Everyone says housing always goes up. Everyone says this stock is safe. Everyone says you have to do it this way. Data thinking asks, compared to what? Over what time period? In what conditions? And what's the downside if I'm wrong? Action step. Before you make a big purchase or investment, do a 2-column check. Column 1, the story you're telling yourself. Column 2, the numbers you can verify. Price history, total cost, interest rate, fees, opportunity cost, worst case scenario. This is the part most people skip. They do the story part. They skip the math part. Mini reset. So far, we've got incentives, expert misalignment, and data over stories. Now we go deeper into something uncomfortable. Big idea number 4. People often respond to measurement, not meaning. If you measure the wrong thing, you get the wrong behavior, and you might even create cheating. Why it matters. In workplaces, schools, and markets, metrics drive decisions, and metrics can be gamed. Freakonomics explores how people cheat when the system rewards a number, not necessarily because they're villains, but because the system makes it easy, tempting, and rational. Translate that into finance. If a manager is rewarded for short-term performance, they may take hidden risks. If a salesperson is rewarded for volume, they may push products that aren't right for you. If you reward yourself only for saving money, you might buy cheap things that break and cost more later. The deeper lesson is to ask, what behavior does this metric reward? Action step. Pick one metric you use in your money life. Monthly spending, net worth, credit score, investment returns. Then ask, does this metric push me toward the life I want, or just toward a number that looks good? And adjust one thing this week. For example, track cost per use on purchases, or track savings rate instead of just total savings, or track fees paid each quarter. But here's where it gets interesting. Once you see how metrics can distort behavior, you start designing better systems for yourself. And in a moment, I'll share the most powerful principle in the entire book, the one that can protect you from manipulation and self-deception. Big idea number 5. Correlation is not causation, and that can save you money. 2 things can move together without one causing the other. That sounds academic, but it's a real-world financial defense mechanism. Why it matters. Marketing relies on confusion between correlation and causation. So does bad investing. So does superstition. People see a pattern and assume a cause. This fund did well, so the manager is brilliant. This entrepreneur is rich, so their habits caused it. This neighborhood is expensive, so it must be safer. Sometimes. But sometimes you're seeing selection effects, luck, or hidden variables. Freakonomics repeatedly pulls this move. It asks, what else could explain the pattern? In finance, that means you don't just ask, what worked? You ask, under what conditions did it work, and will those conditions repeat? Action step. The next time you hear a financial claim, run a quick 3-question filter. What's the evidence? What's the alternative explanation? What would change my mind? If the claim can't survive those questions, don't bet your money on it. Now here's the mistake most people make. They confuse a good outcome with a good decision. A lucky win can come from a bad process. Big idea number 6. The most powerful principle is to ask better questions than everyone else. Freakonomics isn't really about any single topic. It's about a way of thinking, why it matters. If you ask the same questions as everyone else, you get the same answers, and you make the same mistakes. Levitt's approach is to ask questions that feel almost rude, or weird, or too simple, like, who benefits? What's the incentive? What's being measured? What's the hidden information? What does the data say? What would have to be true for the opposite conclusion to be right? This mindset is financial armor. It helps you spot bad deals. It helps you avoid hype. It helps you negotiate. It helps you choose advisors. It helps you build rules that keep you from sabotaging yourself. Action step. Write down 3 Freakonomics questions and keep them in your notes app. Here are 3 to steal. What would this person recommend if they didn't benefit? What is the easiest way this system could be gamed? If I'm wrong, how will I find out quickly? Mini reset. We've covered the big ideas. Now let's turn them into a simple action plan you can use this week. Practical action plan. Step 1. Do an incentive audit. Pick one area: investing, insurance, housing, or a big purchase. List the players involved: seller, advisor, you. Then write the incentives for each: money, time, reputation, convenience. Step 2. Reduce information disadvantage. Before you sign anything, get one independent reference point. A second quote, a fee comparison, a basic calculator, a neutral review source. You're not trying to become an expert. You're trying to avoid being the easiest person to sell to. Step 3. Replace stories with numbers. For any decision over a meaningful amount of money, write down total cost over time, the realistic upside, the realistic downside, and the do-nothing option. Step 4. Fix your metrics. Choose one metric that currently drives your behavior and improve it. If you track spending, also track value. If you track investment returns, also track risk and fees. If you track net worth, also track liquidity and stress. Step 5. Pre-commit against your future self. Set rules before emotions show up. Automatic transfers. A waiting period for big purchases. A checklist before investing. A rule that you never buy a product you can't explain in one sentence. This is the part most people skip. They rely on willpower. But Freakonomics keeps pointing to systems and incentives and structures. 3-step compressed recap. 1. Follow incentives, not explanations. Ask who benefits and how they're rewarded. 2. Respect data more than stories. And don't confuse correlation with causation. 3. Design better systems, better metrics, better questions, and rules that protect you from bad incentives, including your own. If you want the full book, it's linked below. And if you enjoy clear thinking about money and human behavior, subscribe to the running library for more book breakdowns like this. If you want the full book, it's linked below. Subscribe for more book insights you can actually use.